Hi, welcome back to the Weekly Why. This week we have Parsha Masei. This week's very interesting Parsha discusses the concept of cities of refuge. Cities of refuge are a place where if somebody accidentally killed somebody else, the classic example is somebody swinging an axe and the head of the axe flies off and kills a guy, that this person could seek refuge in one of 6 designated towns. And they could remain there, and the family of this killed person could not touch this killer until, and then what happens is they totally can't touch him, and then when the current Kohen, the high priest, dies, it basically goes back, and this killer can go back into regular society, and no one can touch him. Okay? Very interesting idea. For those of you who read the newspaper, the Toronto Star, about early July, had an article. And this article described the various accidental deaths that happened in the city, where cyclists had, broken local traffic laws, and they had either severely injured or killed people. One of the examples was somebody who was going the wrong way on a street, fractured somebody's skull, and only had a $400 charge. Another example, somebody. Basically, they failed to yield, and they hit somebody, and they killed them as she tried to cross the street. He was bicycling, he didn't yield, and he killed a pedestrian. $500 charge, okay? So obviously, we would intuitively look at that and we say, okay, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, you killed somebody accidentally. Obviously, it wasn't murder, but $500 charge? I mean, what a way that we cheapen human life to see it as so inexpensive. Now, the Torah's view of this is that, again, this person who has accidentally killed someone else, totally accidental, but it is negligent. What that means is to say it's not as if you're driving down the street, minding your own business, following traffic laws, and somebody literally jumps in front of your car, okay? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about where if you're negligent. So what that means is that basically if you are, let's say, you're driving but you're talking on the phone or you're texting or your mind is elsewhere, you're not really paying attention to the road, and then you hop the curb and you kill somebody, okay? That's what it's talking about, where it's not murder, but you were negligent in the regard. And so the whole idea of the Toronto Star article about a month ago is very interesting. The whole point of this was basically saying is that the Highway Traffic Act in in Ontario says that if you kill somebody versus if you lightly injure them, it makes no difference because the law is based on intent, not on consequence. Now, what I want to talk about is contrast that with the Torah's idea, because the Torah's idea is to basically say is that no, it really is a matter of not just intent. Obviously, intent is of central importance, but it is really consequence. Because if 2 people are negligent and one person, didn't really hurt anybody else and one person killed somebody else, the whole idea is that that person who killed somebody else, this is an extreme lesson in personal responsibility, okay? Because what we have here is that ultimately, although we didn't intend to do it, our negligence, our short-sightedness literally took somebody's life, okay? And so the whole idea of what we're supposed to imbue with this sense of is that sense of sensitivity and responsibility, where it's not just a matter of, well, I was talking on my cell phone and I killed somebody, so I shouldn't be charged with killing somebody. I should just be charged with talking on my cell phone, which is a small fine, but just that fine itself. In other words, it's a matter of intent, not a matter of the actual consequence. And I think that the whole idea of that is very short-sighted because, once again, the Torah is saying to us is that if you are charged with killing somebody, even if it was totally accidental, your actual crime was just negligence, but you ended up killing somebody, you are ultimately taking more responsibility for it. You're not avoiding responsibility, and you are being that much more sensitive. And so the whole idea is that when this person, who the accidental killer, does get out of that city of refuge, how much more sensitive are they going to be to, everything that they do in terms of the potential for harming others. So the example today, of course, is driving or anything else is dangerous activity. If you know that if you accidentally killed someone, you could be in jail for 50 years, it's not the case. But if that were the case here, would you be more or less careful driving? Of course, you would be extremely careful, right? But, however, in the absence of that, we don't feel that personal responsibility and that personal sensitivity. So I think that's a take-home lesson from the Torah's idea about about the cities of refuge, where even though these people were not murderers, mere accidental killers, and the only thing they were guilty of was, minor negligence, ultimately they were still charged with killing, which is much, much more powerful than manslaughter. As I said, people were charged here in Toronto $400 or $500 for killing somebody. And the whole idea of being culpable literally for that person's death is that we are not going to treat human life in such a callous, unimportant way, that we are going to see the full power and weight of everything we do, and that's the entire lesson for us as well. So that's the take-home lesson for this week's Weekly Why, Parsha Masei. Best wishes, Shabbat Shalom, God bless.